Hi, guys. Welcome to the zoo. We're back in action. Josh and I kind of just wanted to start off the episode talking about things that we've been up to, just our thoughts on our life and things that have been going on. I'll start. Something that has been fun lately for me, which I guess fun for both of us, but has been going to the contrast therapy. Plunge has been a huge part of our life.
We should try to get Plunge to sponsor us.
Yeah, we should. That'd be awesome. Yeah, lately Plunge has been a huge part of our lives. I would say we go about 3 times a week. That's usually our goal, but having a pass there has been incredible. And something that I just did recently with one of my friends for her birthday, we went to the Kelsey Ballerini concert at the Delta Center. And that was super, super fun. She bought tickets from a couple on KSL and the seats were amazing. We were just super happy with them. And it was just such a fun girls' night out. I felt like my friend had such a good time too and felt super loved, and that made me happy because she's the one who just recently went through a breakup, and I really wanted her to feel like, you know, she could just let loose and have fun. And she's currently in law school too, so it's like really stressful. But yeah, Kelsey Ballerini was amazing. Her CD, the newest one that she came out with, is called Patterns. And I don't know if I told you this, Josh, but most of her songs are about divorce because she went through a divorce not too long ago. But I think it like bothers her a little bit because she doesn't want to be like the poster child for divorce.
And why brand yourself that way?
I mean,
stupid.
I mean, that's what she said at the concert. And I was like, I kind of get it though. Like,
you don't want to be a divorced girl? Don't make a CD about being divorced.
Divorce Girl Diaries. But if you know, you know. But I had to throw that in there. But it was just funny because there was a guy there who wanted her to sign his divorce decree. She thought he was saying, please, can you sign my divorce degree? And she was like, what is this? And my friend's in law school, and she was like, no, don't sign it. Don't sign it. It's against the law. It's against the law. And anyway, Kelsey Ballerini wouldn't sign his divorce decree, but after he had that sign up or whatever, she's like, guys, I don't want to be the poster child for divorce though. And it's like, okay, but your music is about divorce. So I just feel like there were a lot of girls there that were like man haters / like, you know, who just maybe guys too that are divorced, but just like, F my life and whatever. Like, I'm trying to get over all these things, which I think is healing and amazing. And it was so fun. But exactly what you said, I'm like, she is just going to have to she just branded herself that way, you know? So she kind of has to just own it or whatever. But anyway, so that was a huge highlight. That was super, super fun. I'm really glad that I went out and did that with my friend. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to share about what has been going on in your world, Josh. Anything that you want to highlight?
We talked a little bit about it last episode, but we started a new business. We're very, very excited about it. And I have my business partner, Jake Klaus, come out.
Name drop.
Yep. He's one of my favorite people. He and his wife are my partners. And
they own their own pest control company.
Yeah, we do. Like I own my own, they own their own.
In Oregon, correct?
Yeah. And we came together to create a super team. But it's cool. The function of the business is to help other pest control companies grow their businesses. And honestly, a lot of pest control company owners, like, it's been interesting seeing it because there's a lot of levels to it. Like, there's a lot of them that when you talk with them, you can kind of understand why they're small.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with not being organized and just not betting on yourself. But essentially, our purpose is to help consult them and then offer them like our sales services where we answer their phone calls for them and sell accounts in their behalf. So we answer all their Google leads. Aside from that, we've been running because we have a big goal. I'm prepping for something 2 years down the road, and then, but Caitlin and I are planning on running a half marathon in the fall, and so our running's been going really good. Yeah, we've been running I would say we've been doing this for probably like a week and a half now, 2 weeks, almost.
I think you've ran more than I have. I think I've only done 2 or 3 runs. But
I got to catch up. That's why you're quite a bit further ahead than me.
No, I'm saying I think that you've been doing a really good job.
Oh, like, thanks.
You're very dedicated. But I was surprised when I just did my longer run for the first time, you know, postpartum. I was surprised at how good I felt after running 3 miles. And I was really proud of myself for doing that. And it felt really good to run outside and in our neighborhood. And I found like a good trail to run on. And yeah, so I'm hopeful, and we're just going to keep going up and up and up, just keep progressing. When you put in the effort, you get the reward. So just got to keep going.
I do have something a little juicy to share.
Oh, Josh got the tea?
I mean, we'll see how tea worthy it is to the ladies or people that are not that interested in business about it. Maybe I shouldn't say the ladies, because I'm sure ladies are interested in business. I'm not trying to say that ladies aren't interested in business, but okay, before I put my foot in my mouth anymore, my wife just thinks I'm dumb. So by the time this episode comes out, I'll have already had some conversations that I needed to have, so I can just announce this. But with Volt, one of the biggest things that's been frustrating for us is working with marketing companies that handle companies' Google ads, because we have to work with each of them individually, with each of our pest control owner clients. And it was an intentional decision to not do that originally for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we just didn't know anything about it. We have decided that it's not worth the struggle anymore, because working with them significantly lengthens our sales process. And so we're going to do something that hopefully it won't ruffle too many feathers, because we're friends with a couple of the people that own these companies that do those things. But we're expanding our Volt business from just doing inside sales to also handling people's websites, search engine optimization, and Google pay-per-click. And so we're really making our business very, very unique, where we're not like any other call center and we're not like any other marketing company. It's going to be big.
Y'all are going to stand out. I mean, you already do, but that's awesome. That's super exciting. And then the other update really quick before we get in the topic, we did find a place to live in Florida.
Yep.
So we're going to have a long-term Airbnb for the next couple of months. And what's the exact city?
It's called Oakland. I don't know anything about it, honestly,
okay.
other than it could be the absolute hood. But
We
I don't
won't
think
be
so.
in the hood.
I don't think so, but who knows?
Wait,
you know what?
Isn't Oakland, California the hood though?
Yeah, but it's not the same necessarily in
I'm just
Florida.
kidding.
But it's like just north of Fort Lauderdale. And so when we do go on dates down into Miami, it'll probably be like a 40-minute drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's worth it.
So Miami is about 40 minutes from us?
Probably.
Okay.
But honestly, we're going there to have a good time and to reset ourselves, and to I am opening up a new branch there, but honestly, I have really solid leadership in Florida. And so we're going to go and focus on ourselves, and I'm going to keep an eye on the business and help when it's needed, but we're going to have some really solid quality time in a fun new city. So we're very excited about it.
Yep. We're going to be the adventure fam. So getting into the topic today, I have been kind of chatting with Josh about this phrase, and the phrase is magnets for miracles. And Josh had said to me, I would say several times, that he feels like Josh and I are magnets. Do you want to expound on your thoughts with that?
I think that just in our life, we're kind of like gravity, where we kind of suck people into our orbit, particularly family that works with us.
But just in general too.
Yeah.
Not just working, right?
I think that you have a magnetic personality where people are drawn to you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to think about, but also
I think that you're more magnetic than I am.
I don't know if that's true, but I think that I really am trying to manifest being a magnet for miracles. And this phrase came up because I met somebody at Plunge. It was a really, really cool experience that I want to share. I met someone, and I think I had previously in another episode talked about the Let Them Theory book that I had listened to on Audible by Mel Robbins. And I remember telling Josh about it, and there was a phrase in there that we had talked about that she had said, there are so many people in your life that you haven't even met yet. Some of the best friends that you're ever going to meet. And I remember hearing that phrase thinking, wow, maybe that's true. Maybe there's a chance that I could meet someone tomorrow that could change my life or, enhance my life, or vice versa. Right. And so I felt like I was a magnet to it because I was manifesting it, and I felt it. Right. And I believed it. And so I met this girl who was super cool, right off the bat. magnetic personality. Just, I could tell we were going to be friends. Like, I wanted to be friends. I thought she was super cool. And we get to talking, and she talks about how she just came back from Hawaii, and we bonded over traveling and entrepreneurship. And I just felt like we had a lot in common. And it was just a really, really cool experience. And I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm getting in over my head right now. I remember I called you and I was like, I feel like this girl is really cool. We have a lot in common, like weird stuff, you know. It felt like weird, but not a coincidence at the same time. Like, this is like part of my lore that maybe people will think is really weird. But back in 5th grade, I realized that I could do like impersonations. And I think it's just like the funny, quirky side of me that I started to do this voice that sounded like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. And people who like really know me know that I don't know, that I can do that. And so I have my back.
You really like Stitch.
I do really like Stitch. And so I have this backpack that I bought from Disney World that has Stitch on it. And I brought it to Plunge. And the girl that I met, you know, comments on it and says that she loves Stitch too. And all of a sudden she just starts talking in a Stitch voice. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, this girl's crazy, but I think she's matching my crazy. And anyways, there were so many things that we just kept having in common. And I didn't tell you last night, but she told me that her birthday is October 16th and my birthday is April 16th. So my half birthday is her birthday and vice versa. Isn't that kind of crazy?
That is crazy.
And that's also my niece's birthday, London. That's her birthday as well. But anyway, so all of that to say, I really feel like this was a connection that God placed in my life that I don't know exactly what's going to come of it, but we had a lot of fun and we already went to Plunge again last night and met up and talked again. And it was a super deep, fun conversation. And I just feel really hopeful that I just want to continuously be a magnet for miracles. And I want to be open to all of the good energy and all of the good things that are happening in my life. And that's the conversation kind of that we had last night, that I deserve the good things that are happening to me, you know, and I believe that you do too. And I feel like I've always tried, for the most part, obviously I've made plenty of mistakes, but for the most part, I've tried to be a good human and, you know, put good energy out in the world and hype people up, be a hype girl, be a girl's girl, whatever you want to say. And like, even at the concert that I just went to, I felt like I was just commenting on all these girls' outfits and like hyping them up and just making connections. And it genuinely made me so happy. And there were a few girls that said to me, like, that is one of the nicest things that anyone's ever said to me. And I don't know, I just want to keep being that person. So it's like I'm reaping what I sow. So I would love to like hear your thoughts, Josh, about just any miracles that you've seen in your life. And if you believe in what I'm saying, like manifesting miracles and like really believing that those good things will come back to you.
Absolutely. I 100% believe in miracles. I think that like you have some really solid friendships that you've developed like from your mission that I truly believe they'll be lifelong friendships. But since then, truly, I feel like it's been a little bit of a struggle for you to develop new friendships. And that's something that's very important to you. It's honestly not that important to me, but we're very, very different in that way.
Yeah.
But that is one of my favorite things about you is that you're consistently giving. You want to give and you want to receive friendship, like genuine friendship.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've definitely been manifesting finding somebody that you could be a real friend to and they could be a real friend to you. It's a weird dynamic as you become an adult that like friendship, I feel like they take on a deeper meaning because you're not always able to give freely.
Yeah.
You know, like you have more on your plate. And so what you give, there's limits on it, right? Friendships as an adult have the opportunity to be very, very meaningful. And I think that that's something that you deserve.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
We also have recently talked about being, I guess, aligned or misaligned in your life and how that can affect different areas. When we're aligned, you naturally attract what's meant for you. And that's when you become a magnet for miracles because...
Or
okay, yeah.
you attract what you're aligned with.
What do you mean by that?
That means that you could be aligned with something, but you're not attracting miracles. Like there's a lot of people, like it requires a specific type of alignment to attract miracles, I think.
Really? Okay. And what's that type of alignment?
Not the shallow kind, not the kind that's self-serving, not the kind that, like you can focus on self-love and self-care, but sometimes people take it too far and it becomes self-serving and selfish, right? Like it depends on what it is that you're doing it for. Like intention, the intention behind the effort matters. It's like intention is the foundation and effort is the building. And then like what you receive is what fits into the building.
That makes sense. Well, because I talked to my friend that I just met last night about that, and I was a little bit nervous because I have been burned in the past with friendships, or, you know, maybe things didn't pan out exactly the way that I thought. And I think sometimes I have more apprehensions maybe than I used to. And that's probably just some healing that I need to do myself. But part of me was like doubting the friendship and thinking, does she really like me? You know, is this real? Whatever, right? I was getting in my head about it. And she was like, Caitlin, I wouldn't be investing in talking to you as much as I have been if I didn't feel like your intention was there. Like you had good intentions and a good heart. So kind of like what you're saying, people who really like dive deep into the things that we're talking about can usually discern and feel when people's intentions are off or misaligned, like you're saying. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I just think of people that I know in my life, and sometimes it has to do with the stage that they're in, but they receive what they align with, you know, and it's not always good things. They might think that it's good because it's selfish, but ultimately what they receive is hollowness.
Yeah. I guess we all probably need to ask ourselves like what our intentions are.
What is it that we're aligning with?
And what is it that we're aligning with? What would you say that misalignment looks like or feels like? Like how do you know if you're misaligned? Like if someone was listening to this.
I think that might be different for me than for what other people might think.
Okay.
But I think that for me, alignment, like I feel like for a lot of people, emotions and feeling like emotionally good about something is the foundation of their alignment. But for me, it's not.
So it's a gut feeling maybe that you're talking
It's not even
about.
so much a gut feeling. It's more so truth. Like, is it true? Is it true or not true?
That's what you feel, right?
Yeah, because I feel like truth exists independent of my feelings about it. And that's a whole other rabbit hole that you could take into politics, into culture. Like, I think that some truths are relative, but not very many. And I don't know how much you should base your life on relative truth at the expense of actual truth. You know? So I know what I'm saying probably sounds super philosophical, and it's like, Josh, you're being too much.
It's definitely deep, but this episode, I mean, we're going pretty deep.
So take the running, for example. It's true that I've aligned myself in that way in other areas of my life, and I haven't with this. And it's also true that I do have the ability to fix it, but I could choose not to, or I could. It's also true that I feel like God wants me to, but that doesn't mean I need to listen.
Or if you're going to choose to move forward or.
Yeah. And so I think that I've just learned that when I feel things like that, regardless of how I feel about it, I try not to fight it.
Yeah. Because I was having this conversation with my friend, another friend from high school, and she was just telling me like there's so many different things that she wants to do. It's almost like she doesn't know what to focus on. And when you're already spread so thin with having several children, like we're saying, our bandwidth gets smaller and smaller depending, right? And so
I could tell you what I would do.
yeah, like, because you might have an intuition or gut feeling to do something, but when you're spreading yourself too thin, saying yes to too much and feeling drained, I think you can feel misaligned that way as well.
If I was a mother and I wasn't working and I just felt like drained, the first thing that I would align with, aside from like faith would be the first thing. I would align with taking care of myself. That's like the first thing that I would do, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And as a mom, it's true that in other areas of your life, you have obligations that you have to fulfill regardless of how you feel about it. And if you don't fulfill those obligations just because you don't feel about it, you're not a good mom. And that's also true.
I mean, that's just like bare minimum taking care of your kids, right?
No, I'm saying like if you don't do bare minimum things because it just isn't convenient at the time and you just don't really want to, there's a lot of people that are like that. There's a lot of dads like that. There's a lot of moms like that where they just don't show up the way that they should for their children because they're selfish.
Pawning their kids off, or like, what do you mean by that?
Could look at it. It could be a lot of different things. It could be a lot of different things. And honestly, it requires self-inventory to think about that.
Yeah.
Like, are you being the best that you can for your kids? Or
well, like you said, it starts with taking care of yourself.
It does.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, I feel like there's a lot of people out there. I know there's a lot of dads that they work so hard. They come home, they're tired, like they're exhausted, and they just don't have the energy to like really give a lot more in other areas.
Yeah.
I can say that I've felt that.
For sure.
And I know that moms feel that too, like
in a different way. Yeah.
In a different way. Like sometimes it's a lot easier to plop your kid in front of a TV and have them watch TV all day and not leave the house and not cook dinner and not clean. But is that aligned with actually what's good for you, for your family? Is it a representation of fulfilling the obligations that you're supposed to fill within your marriage dynamic? Or even if you're alone, it's even more of a reason why you need to take care of yourself and ensure that you're okay. Like single moms, you have to find a way to carve out time.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to carve out time to align yourself so you can be strong enough to fulfill your obligations when you don't necessarily want to, but you know you need to.
Or you feel like you can't.
There's some people that just feel that way because they're lazy POSs, but I don't feel like most people are that way. I feel like most people are just pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, like you said, all these things we're talking about can look different for all of us, right? Like I've heard moms say, for example, something that changed the game for them was getting up before their kids, right? Like they get up before their kids and work out, for example. Or some moms will work out at home with their kids, you know? But like I was talking with one of my friends and she was saying, well, but I only have one child, for example, that's a toddler. And my, Caitlin, me, for example, we have a 4-month-old, or in the moment that we were talking, it was a newborn. And we're so sleep deprived sometimes. It's like maybe I genuinely can't get up before my kids get up to do something for myself, right?
I don't know that I believe that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying you have to look at your own personal life, right? And what you can do, what you have to change maybe to get there, right? And
yeah.
It's going to look different for everyone. That's my point. Like
it will look different for everybody, but I think that the situations where you can't, through effort, even if it's inconvenient, can't better your situation in some way.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
Like we have agency, we have control. I'm not saying it feels good. It can really suck. And you can be in a situation where the circumstances aren't totally in your control and it's not your fault. But that doesn't mean that you don't have agency where you can choose.
I just meant like there are so many ways to show up for yourself.
Yeah, there is a lot of different ways.
And it doesn't have to be like getting up before your kids get up. That could work for somebody, right? Mm-hmm. But that might not work for the mom who is sleep deprived with a newborn. That's all I meant. It just depends on your season of life, how many kids you have. And like you said, what effort are you willing to give? Mm-hmm. Like some people just don't want to do that.
It's super important for people to recognize that alignment comes through effort. Like it comes through effort. And it's a very dangerous game to just accept that the way that you are is the way that you are. And there's not really any accountability to align yourself with something higher than what your current state is. I don't believe in that. I think that all of us have something inside of us that can be cultivated and grown into something more. And that people that don't do that, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Am I just weird?
No.
For saying things like that?
No. I was just thinking about, is there a time, Josh, in your life where you were like chasing something and it wasn't clicking, or like you felt like you were trying so hard and getting nowhere?
I feel like that all the time.
So but what advice would you have? Because I'm sure there are people out there listening that have felt that too, right? Where like the burnout, the frustration, all of those things, and you feel like you're off course. Like, is it just a moment where you let go and then things fall into place? Or is it like you said, more effort? More effort on your part that made everything kind of fall into place? Or
I want to be really careful. I don't think that we can work our way to heaven or we can do X, Y, Z and we earn miracles. It just doesn't really work like that when it comes to the spiritual aspect of things. But I do believe that we owe it to ourselves, to God, to just like alignment takes effort, that you have to put an effort. Things aren't just given to you, like sometimes blessings are, but that's not alignment.
But blessings, like you said, I think it always comes back to effort as well. And like, don't you think that you can't force miracles? Like, do you think that they find you?
I feel like the more effort you put in, or the more consistent you put in effort, the more likely you are to work things out, as long as you're attempting to align with something that's true.
But that's like the logical side of you, I think.
But it's true.
But it's true.
Is it not?
Yeah.
I don't know that somebody could really debate with that.
I think, well, for me personally, when I feel misaligned, I feel like for me, it's more of an intuition thing and my gut, where I think that something feels off, or I get prompted or nudged to do something that God knows I need to heal or I need to work towards.
But what if you're somebody that shouldn't trust their intuition?
But don't you think everyone has a deep intuition that they really, really should tap into?
It depends on what you mean by intuition.
Because I guess we could get deep. We could get really deep right now and we could talk about, I don't know if everyone listening believes in this, but like if you do believe in the Holy Ghost.
And the light of Christ.
Or the light of Christ, or I guess just a voice maybe that you could feel or hear. Because literally the other night I told you I had a feeling that I should pull off the freeway and stop driving because I have fallen asleep at the wheel before. And it was very, very traumatizing and very scary because I got in a bad wreck. And it was very late at night. And I haven't gotten a prompting like that in a long time, where it felt like I really, really needed to get off the freeway. So I don't know, like, I don't really know what you mean by if you can't trust your intuition, because
some people just make bad decisions.
Okay, but maybe their intuition's telling them something else and they just went with the other choice.
That's a scary place to be.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
That could totally happen, right?
I think that some people, they'll make such bad decisions continually that light gets dimmed and that their ability to hear that gets diminished.
Well, I also think that God appreciates effort, like we've been talking about this whole time. You showing him that you hear a prompting or you feel a prompting, whatever it looks like for you, you see a number. I believe God speaks to everyone in different ways. But for me, I feel like he shows me through symbols a lot of the time. I feel like the more I show him that I see those things and I move forward and I listen, he's going to keep giving me those promptings because he knows that he can trust me.
I agree with that.
That I'm going to do what he has given me, right? Like the voice or the prompting, I'm following through. And so, like you said, if you're making choices of not listening or making poor decisions, I think God could look at that and say, well, she's not really, doing the things that I'm giving her, right? And so
when do you think you should not listen to your intuition? If your intuition, and we're not talking about the Holy Ghost or the light of Christ, I'm just talking about like what's innately in you and what you innately want to do. When should you not listen to it?
Well, I was thinking about people who had moments where they feel like they can't trust themselves. And I wonder if that stems from making bad decisions like we're talking about, or I don't know. I think the more we make good decisions and things pan out the way that we hoped, and we build up confidence, if that makes sense. Like we feel like we can trust our decision making, I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like...
Is there anything that people should align with, even if they don't feel like they necessarily want to?
I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot of things that we all probably need to be more aligned on.
Like what?
I think like you said, there's all these different categories, right? There's faith, there's these moral frameworks that we believe in that maybe something specifically feels off. And we know in that category, if we journaled, for example, we would be closer to God. Like that's something that I continuously get prompted to do. Because I was telling you the other night that I feel like the written word is something that I feel like the closest to God sometimes. It's like my truest feelings. And I was talking to ChatGPT the other day about this, and I feel like sometimes I don't even want to go there because I have to like really take the time to sit and write, and I have to meditate and like really get into that space. But it hurts me if I don't do that, right? Because it really does help me cope, and it helps me reflect and all of these things. And I almost feel like the bad decision is to not journal, right? But it takes effort, and it takes time for me to remove myself from my kids or to be in a quiet space, and it takes effort. And so, yeah, so that's something for me personally that I feel like misaligned on right now. And I feel like I would be able to work through my grief with my dad passing better. Like there's just so many things that I know I should be doing this, right? But I don't take the necessary steps to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's for me personally where I'm at. And as long as we're aware of it and we're trying, right?
I think everybody has things like that. And if you don't think that you do, maybe think about it.
Is there something that you feel like you're misaligned on, or?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things I could point out that I'm not perfect or my effort levels fluctuate.
Yeah.
For me, I really struggle with transitioning between work and home. I struggle to transition between anything. Honestly, I think that's just a part of ADD. I have to be extremely mindful to just put my phone down when I come home. And usually I'm pretty good at it. But the nature of entrepreneurship is difficult sometimes. Like sometimes, or not even sometimes, all the time, people will try to talk to me all the way up until midnight. You've seen it, right? Yeah. And in the moment, it can feel like I need to answer it right away. The truth is that I usually don't, and that's okay. But if I don't align with that, we're not very far off from the time when Noah will remember that I wasn't always intentional with my time. I don't want Noah to ever feel, or Indy to ever feel like I care more about my work more than I care about them, because it's like you and them are my purpose.
Yeah. And I told you that, I think just last night we were talking about this. I feel like in ways my dad has helped me continuously become the best version of myself and parent that I can be by guiding me and leading me and prompting me. And that's something that I do really strongly believe in, that kids need your time. And that's the part that we're never going to get back, is that quality time. And it's fleeting.
And I love it. I do
yeah,
love
and
it.
And it goes by
so
fast. And so
like we're really not that far off from the time where we don't read books with Noah as much, or he doesn't ask for it or want it as much. You know, like we'll have to be more intentional about it versus him asking for it. Mm-hmm. It's just weird. I feel like time really is a thief. And I know that we've talked about this, and you probably think I'm weird, but I've mentioned a couple times like how I like wish we had like little kid versions of our children all the time. Yeah. So we could just snuggle them forever. But I don't want to not have our children grow up. I just want both.
Yeah. So really, to wrap up this whole episode, I just don't want anyone listening to this to get overwhelmed. You know, I think everybody can take an inventory of where they're at in their life. And like I said, go through the categories of whatever those big rocks for you are in your life.
Faith, family, fitness, self-care. I mean, that can be kind of like attached to all of those.
And that's something that my dad always kind of instilled in me.
And intellect, like smarts, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I think all those big rocks can look different for everyone. But I think like that's our moral framework, a lot of the things that Josh just said. And I'm a person that sometimes will dive too deep into those categories and be like, I need to, I don't know, when it comes to faith, for example, like go to church, come follow me, go to the temple, like whatever. I'm listing a million things off. And I think also just putting the cart before the horse vibes. And so I'm just saying, if you feel overwhelmed, start small. That's my advice. Pick a category and where you feel misaligned and say, what is one thing that I can do this month, or whatever that looks like for you? Like go to the temple once a month with my spouse or something like that, right? And so, and really, like Josh said, take an inventory of where you're at and where can you put more effort in. And we're definitely not like gurus on this at all. There's so many things that me and Josh need to work on. But this is something that I've really thought about deeply, where I want to just continuously be a better person and be the best version of myself and be like on the path that God wants me to be on. And I wanted to share this quote really quick but it says, when you stop chasing what's not for you, what is for you finds its way in. And that's something that I just want to keep being aligned on what's meant for me and focusing on that and putting effort into the path and the people and all those things that is meant for me, right? Mm-hmm. And meant for my life and my purpose and almost like my personal mission on this earth, right? And I really believe in that like we all have a specific mission. And God puts us all here for a purpose, to find people. We get to meet people too, right? Vice versa, that will change our lives. But like when you feel like something's off, it probably is, and you need to really look at that and try to align your life with that. And I think miracles will flood in, and sometimes miracles are super, super small. They're not large, right? Like it might even just be, it was sunny that day. And I've just been really trying to have like a heart of gratitude. And I just want my children to remember me as like a happy mom and a mom that enjoyed their kids. And it's not going to look like that every day.
And a mom that tried.
Yeah, exactly. And a mom and dad that tried. And
I feel like we've come to terms with the fact that in some way we're going to make mistakes as parents that will affect our children.
1,000%. Yeah.
That will affect our children.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can stay aligned and if we can do our best, I think that they'll see that. Like, I think that they'll visibly be able to see that, and we'll be in a place where if they ever come to us and say that we came up short, we can own it from a place of loving them.
Yeah.
And wanting to stay aligned with them.
Definitely. It takes humility, right? That's something that I've realized, that no matter what, we make mistakes. We take the good, leave the bad that our parents might have raised us with, and you just apologize, and you're humble and just never stop seeing the good. So if this resonates with you guys, share it.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yep. And keep being a magnet for miracles, trying to see the silver linings and miracles in your life, because I promise you that they're there. And we appreciate you guys listening and supporting the podcast, and welcome to the zoo.